Paul spent years spreading the good news about Jesus. Thousands of people, Jews and Gentiles, responded. Churches sprang up across the empire, scrappy little outposts of an alternative kingdom where Jesus, not Caesar, was proclaimed Lord. Paul dreamed of going farther west, reaching more people with the message about Jesus. Instead, he spent his final years in and out of prison, fighting not for his own life, but for the survival of the church. Barely a generation after Jesus, many of the churches Paul started were fracturing. Paul's final letters, known as the prison letters, showed just how fragile things were and how hard Paul fought to hold these churches together. Paul was arrested around AD 58 and taken to Rome, where he wrote the letters we know as Philemon, Colossians, Ephesians, and Philippians. Paul urged his readers to hold fast to the truth and simplicity of the gospel, not to mention its subversive power. He negotiated the reconciliation of his courier, a runaway slave named Onesimus, with his former master, Philemon, who happened to be a recipient of one of these letters. According to Paul, the barrier between slave and free was being torn down, just as the barrier between Jew and Gentile had been. In Colossians, Paul asserted the supremacy of Christ. No amount of rule following or seeking mystical experiences could add anything to what Jesus did. In Ephesians, Paul reminded churches in Western Turkey that God had demolished the wall of hostility between Jew and Gentile in order to create one new people. In Philippians, he shared his secret to finding joy in a prison cell. Whether he lived or died, Paul knew God's kingdom was breaking through. During a brief period of freedom, Paul wrote two of his most trusted colleagues, Timothy and Titus, advising them on how to guide the troubled churches in Ephesus and Crete. Paul's freedom was short-lived, however. The next time he was arrested, the Roman emperor was actively persecuting followers of Jesus. Paul knew there was little hope for release. He wrote Timothy one last time, urging him to stay true to what he'd learned. Paul's life did not end according to plan. Many of the churches he founded still teetered on the brink, but his message about Jesus endured. No amount of persecution could stop God's kingdom from breaking through.